and welcome back to the episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Ness.
I am your other host, Jey.
Today we are talking about things, as always. Okay, first of all, I want to point out, did you get a haircut recently? Me
Nice
too.
and fresh. Nice
Look
fresh.
at me. Look at us. Feeling great. Okay, so playoffs have been ongoing. I still haven't been keeping track because I've just been crazy busy. Dude, I missed last week because it was Mother's Day. I work at a florist and it was insane. I worked 8 days in a row. I'm still exhausted.
But you know a lot about flowers now.
I know a little bit about flowers. I'm basically managing the joint. So you're gonna have to lead this discussion on playoff things about your Rangers, your obsession with your Rangers.
So as far as playoffs, all I can tell you guys is the one series that I've been following exclusively, which is the recently decided New York Rangers versus the Canes. Last week it was a bit hard for me to catch because they were playing on days when I had to go into the office, so I had to listen to it, which, at the end of the day, it's better than not being able to have any way of following it, because I was trying to follow some of the games for the men's world, and as far as I could tell, unless you really dug and found maybe some local radio station that's going to be in a language that you can't understand anyway, there wasn't really any way for you to keep track of it unless you were actively watching it. So, but going back to the Rangers and the Canes, I missed game 4 and 5. I was mostly following in on audio, and it just kind of sounded like, the Canes were realizing that they were in a spot that had to kind of find their next gear, because the Rangers almost looked like they were going to sweep early on. Did I feel like they were going to do it? No, but the Canes were going to have to obviously come out and have an answer, which they did. And then the game that they eventually won, and I got to watch it, and the first two periods were just like, come on, like, you guys, like, you're really gonna allow them to go to game 7? Like show up, do something. And even like Shesterkin looked a bit like shaky in net, and I was a little concerned, like, is Quick gonna have to come in? Is like Shesterkin doesn't look that great. And then in the third period, they found their next gear, and Chris Kreider got a freaking hat trick. Like, at the beginning of the game, I was like texting one of my friends, being like, "Oh, I guess the Rangers don't want to go to the conference finals. They just look terrible." And he's like, "Yes, I don't feel like going anymore. Like, I want to be reverse swept." And then when Chris Kreider got the first 2 goals, I don't remember the first one. I remember the second one, which I joked that Frederick Anderson's game controller just disconnected, because it, like, the puck, I think it was Mika who came around and tried to take a shot, and it landed right near the post where Anderson's skate was also flushed up against it. And then I was thinking, like, oh yeah, he's going to come down, he's going to put his glove on it. And like, he just stood there, and I was like, and then Chris Kreider comes in and like shoves it in. I was just like, what happened there? Like, did bro not know where the puck was? Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And so, then he got his second goal, and then I was like, incoming hat trick. I can feel it. It's happening. This is how it happens. Now, before all that, there was, I don't remember the score at the time, but the Canes were leading, and there was this moment where they were like crashing the net. Anderson was off to the left, and it was like a wide open net, and I want to say it was Chris Kreider that like was attempting to tap it in, and you could see it trickling behind Anderson going to the open net, and Martinuk like dove into the net and like swiped his stick across. And when you watch the replay of how it happened from like above, I mean, it wasn't that close, but it was still like, had he not been there, it would have instantly went in. But the fact that he just like dove in there and swiped it away, like I had to give him credit, because I'm like, wow, that was insane. But so the Rangers freaking came back. Chris Kreider ended up getting like the winning goal and got his hat trick. It was in Raleigh, but just imagine how insane that would have been if they would have been at MSG. And then of course, like the Canes pulled the goalie, I think like a little over, I want to say like 2.5 minutes left in the third period. I don't really remember if they were getting a whole bunch of chances, but at the end of the day, Barclay Goodrow got the empty netter, securing, the insurance goal and whatever. It was pretty cool. My favorite part of the post-game media presser was Trocheck and Kreider who were at the table, and Chris was asked about if he had this feeling, after that first goal, he was going to get those other two. And he was like sitting there for a bit. You could tell that he was thinking about how to approach this to answer it. And he just said, I don't know. And he started giving like that classic sort of answer where, it's like, we're part of a team. And I just really felt like, everyone worked together, all, blah, 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 whatever. And right about the end, Trocheck leans in and he's like, no, he knew. He's like, shut up with this bullshit you're spewing out there. Like, no, you knew. Calm down. Give yourself credit. He pretty much said during the second intermission, Kreider had told the group, he's like, I'm gonna get one. Like, yeah. And then the reporter said, well, how did you feel about I think he said, how did you feel about that or whatever? And he was just like, he replied saying, well, I sure hope so. So, it was a lot of fun from, obviously, if you're, oh my God, I think it was for the third goal. I think that it was on TNT. I can't remember now. The broadcast panned to this kid in the crowd, and I feel bad. I do, but I laughed in the moment, but I feel bad. The kid must have been no older than like 10. And he had the rally towel, and it was like right here on his face. And you could tell he was like emotionally distraught that he could feel the Canes were going to get knocked out. And he was just like upset. And I'm like, oh no.
But you laughed.
I laughed because it was funny. Like, welcome to the club, kid. We've all been there, but I'm like, oh no, Chris Kreider makes kids cry. And then there was this clip after they were all leaving the ice. There was a fan, like right where the away team, their tunnel. There was a fan right at the bottom seat area, and I guess there's like a little bit of an opening. I don't know why the kid was there, maybe just watching all the players exit, but he was wearing Canes gear, and I'm assuming it was a parent that was there with him. But when Chris Kreider was leaving the ice, he stopped there and he gave the kid his stick. And I said, okay, so not only does Kreider make kids cry, but he also turns them into Rangers fans. Kid is gonna, like, that moment forever change for him. He's like, F this Canes gear.
I'm a Rangers fan now.
I'm a Rangers fan now.
That's funny. Being evil, but in a wholesome way.
Yeah. So, yeah, so the Rangers move on, and I think it was yesterday. I didn't watch this game, but the Panthers advanced, knocking out the Boston Bruins.
Hmm.
Who else advanced? Well, the Dallas
Stars.
Stars knocked out the Avs, and now we're on to Game 7 for the Canucks and the Oilers this coming Monday. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch that game. I don't know. I've been enjoying the highlights, especially where like Zadorov's like hitting Kane into his own bench.
Yeah. Yeah. My bracket is all messed up. I guessed all wrong. But I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised if I haven't been paying as much attention to this season. I think I've been pleasantly surprised at the way things are turning out, because as much as I like the Avs, I mean, they recently won a cup, so like, chill out, you know? And the Stars haven't done it since the 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember.
Sounds about right.
I don't keep up with them. But how cool would it be to see Joe Pavelski lift the cup?
That would be like, him and Robertson would be the two highlights, and that would be about it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He'd probably be. Well, actually, I don't know. Has any Filipino player won the Stanley Cup?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Me neither. It's just a question that came up. I still am rooting for the Canucks over the Oilers. But we'll see how that goes. If I don't even know if the Oilers have made it to a conference final as like recently. My memory does not serve me at this point.
All I know about that series is I don't know how this stuff finds itself on my feed, but I was seeing a lot of like Canucks, Oilers. Maybe it was because there was this one game where people were like, oh, it was the one where McDavid got cross-checked in the face.
Oh.
At the end, and there was this whole discord about people being like, oh, player safety is gonna come in, and like, even though it like was not, I don't remember who did the cross-checking, but like Zadorov did come in behind McDavid and shove him, and then he kind of ended up like the stick did go into his face, versus if it didn't happen, it would just probably be like a scrum, right? So there were a lot of like opinions going around, and I get it. I haven't been in the situation in a while where we have like very heated discussions because our teams are in the playoffs. But yeah, there are a lot of people being like, saying, yes, I'm aware that this happened before this and whatever. And then that would still not be good enough to like calm everybody. Then it would go right back where, well, this happened in the second period against these guys, and that didn't get called. And by the time you start going down that hole, then it's like, you might as well just stop. But people were, saying, well, we did see that whoever it was got a 1-game suspension. Oh, it was Carson Soucy, I remember now. He got a 1-game suspension, and people were like, oh, you got to protect the assets, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I can see it. But we know that the way things are handled in this league are not fair. Like, there's been some improvement, but there's a lot more to be desired. But yeah, so that conversation was making its way onto my feed, and I'm just like, woof, I don't miss that part.
Yeah.
like Oilers fans and Canucks fans are just like at each other's throats. There's like, I've come across people being like, oh, very classic response from that fan base. And I'm like, oh, this is getting ugly.
2 Canadian teams up against each other in the playoffs. Yeah, I can see it.
And that reminds me, Elliot Freeman made the comment on a recent 32 Thoughts episode where he was actually saying that he really enjoys the fact that you, by these 2 Canadian teams going against each other, you kind of get like that passionate side. And I'm like, yeah, it's great for, you know, if you want to sit down with some popcorn, I guess, and just watch the train wreck happen.
The chaos.
Mm-hmm.
We live for chaos when we're not a part of it. Continuing on the playoffs topic, we're going to switch over to women's. I haven't really been keeping track with this either. I'm surprised to see the 2 teams that made it, but it is what it is. Minnesota and Boston making it to the finals. I mean, I guess I'm not that surprised. I don't know. This feels very like, of course it's these 2 teams that made it to the finals. What is their cup called?
The Walter something Cup.
Ah, yes. Walter something. I know that guy. Are you going to try catching any of these games?
There are a few that I think are going to work out with my schedule. Like a lot of these games, unfortunately, happen when I can't watch them, or I can catch like the butt end of it. So
that's the most important part.
I'm sorry?
That's the most important part, the end of it.
I suppose. Mark Walter, is that the name? It just says the Walter Cup. Okay. So there you go.
Walter, Stanley, and Walter.
But yeah, no, I do want to catch the finals. So there's going to be a couple of games that are going to work out.
And it's only best of 5.
I mean, there's not that many teams. Like,
I guess.
But the first one starts today, and there's no NHL game, so no excuse. No excuse.
Where do you watch it? Are you still doing it on YouTube?
You can watch on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. They're streaming on YouTube.
All right, I'll see if I can catch some of this. I don't know who I'd root for. I would root for Minnie. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah. Without hesitation.
Sorry, Boston. I just can't. I can't do it. Okay. I saw you posting this on Twitter yesterday. And I was cracking up. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I was mad.
Yeah, I could tell.
I was upset. So pretty much I went to walk my dog, and then when I was coming back in, I was thinking, you know, I'll go get my meal. And these days, people don't really send written letters anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of used to like, okay, this is like bank related things, some random like ad, whatever, right? And then I see this one that's handwritten, and I'm like, oh, who's sending me something? But
I can only imagine the disappointment you felt.
Well, I was like, the first second I was like, ooh, and then the following seconds I was like suspicious, because it had my first initial, last name, or current resident. And then that's the part where I was just like, what type of business related thing is this that apparently wants to get really personal and write them for write whatever to you? I'm like, okay, nothing was coming to mind. I get inside and I open it, and it's like written in like on like notebook, like lined binder paper. And then I open it up, it's like folded like twice. And then there's a brochure inside. I skimmed the letter because I could immediately already tell what it was. And I just became pissed off because I haven't had any sort of door-to-door churchy people come to my residence in quite some time. I think the last time that happened was, I want to say 8 years ago or something. I was living with a friend at the time, and like I was going back to school, so I was at home during the hours where they would come by. And the first 2 times it happened, I made the mistake of opening up the door because I didn't realize they do this thing. And then because it happens so frequently, we try to put a sign out in front of the door because it's really annoying when they knock and they ring the doorbell, and I've got a dog and he starts going off, and then it's like I'm sleeping because I was going to school and I do my best work at night, so I would sleep in the morning. So you're all just fucking up my morning. So that's my memory of that. And then, flash forward 8 some years later, I get this fucking letter in the mail, and now they're going through the post office. Who cares now? Like we're ahead of the game where we no longer go door to door. We invade your mailbox. And we force you to open up the letter because from the letter alone, I can't tell what it is. And so not only that part, but the fact that it was addressed to me, so they knew, they found, it's not like you have to try terribly hard, but you do have to still try to figure out specifically who lives where. And I'm assuming they have some way to find out who is not already in your cult. So, yeah. So I was all irritated. And then usually I just throw this shit away. But I was like, there's a return address. I'm just going to write you back.
Did you actually send it?
I did. And I got a piece of binder paper and I wrote out so there's no first name on it. It's just got the initial and the last name. And I wrote in big letters, "They're gay, Marshall." And a big fucking rainbow. I drew a big fucking rainbow onto it. And I used the damn stamp, a stamp I bought with my own money, and I put it in an envelope and I put it in the outgoing mail. So I hope they get it, if not yesterday, but Monday morning. Happy fucking Monday. Happy fucking Monday.
I love it. This is like snail mail trolling. I don't know. This was entertaining. I appreciate your sense of humor.
Almost made me late for my haircut appointment.
What if they write you back?
Go ahead.
It's just gonna be a back and forth thing now.
Sure, new pen pal.
Leave me alone, Marshall.
Maybe I'll draw some nice vulvas on it next time.
Oh, wow. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
If they want to write me back.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I deal with those people knocking on my door once every few months. They actually came to my place of work recently. Well, okay, to be fair, my boss works out of her house. But like they came asking specifically for the business, and I was like I didn't know what to say. And they're handing me like the pamphlets, the brochure. And I'm just like, no, she's not here right now. And they're trying to like talk to me about stuff, and then she's like, "Oh, is this the flower shop?" And I was like, "Yes." And then they're talking about getting flowers at some point or something. I was like, all right, like I can't make them go away because I still have to be like very businessy about it. But it was just such a strange
You should
thing.
make your own brochures to give to them next.
That's not a bad idea. But yeah, it's such a strange, like, Christianity and whatever branches from that. It's so like pushy. I don't know what other word to use. It's so pushy. Like join our cult or else. And then they try to guilt you into it. I don't want that. Why are you talking to me? I know there's a way that you can actually I don't know if there's someone you call or talk to so you can get off of their list so they stop bugging you. I just don't remember how to go about that. If you're interested in finding that out for yourself.
Yeah, we'll see if we become pen pals. So
okay, back to hockey. I was listening to Shing's podcast, San Jose Hockey Now podcast that Shing is part of. And they had invited Nico Sturm to join to talk a little bit about some questions that some fans have had about mainly around the David Quinn firing and stuff, and his opinion on the getting the first draft pick and all that stuff. Mainly wanted to focus on the Quinn thing because I don't think I've seen any fans discussing these particular things, but I thought it was interesting that they touched on it. Because he asked if Quinn had lost the room, and that might have been part of why he was fired. Sturm answered pretty quickly and said no, he never did. And he was very adamant about saying that everything that happened in the season was out of Quinn's control. Like, he did the best that he could. He was a great coach. They all had a very good working relationship. He was a great developmental coach for the younger guys. And I think the only reason that he was fired was because they had such a bad season, and the coaches are usually the first to feel that, the impact of that, to try and make changes or whatever. So I just thought that was a interesting little topic because, Sturm is one of my favorites, specifically for interviews because he's very no bullshit and is very honest about questions as much as he can be without giving too many details, right? So
yeah, maintaining respect for the team.
Yeah. So it was cool. I don't know if you had thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I kind of felt like at the end of the day that was the reason why he was let go. I mean, we probably discussed this here and there about, like, there's been a mix of opinions in relation to Quinn being hired on. Like, I mean, even when like from our own thoughts, like, we were not necessarily excited when it was announced, but we were kind of like, okay, well, show us what you got, but I just feel like there's been some fans within the fan base, like, since day one, that have just been like, no, I don't like him, and like continue to not like him. And I think that there's some, which is valid, I'm not saying, like, I don't have reasons for you to like the coach. I just don't see it from the perspective of like, but why don't we like him? Like, he might not have been the choice that you wanted, but I don't, like, given the situation where the Sharks are in right now, we're not going to get, some, like, Toronto recently got Craig Berube. Like, if that's someone that you were interested in looking for to come into the team, like, we're not really in a position where I feel like a coach that is part of a reason why, like, the Blues got all the way to the Cup finals. Like, we're not in that position yet. So I kind of felt like bringing in David Quinn sort of made sense for the times, even if you didn't necessarily see him as like a good, like, developmental coach for a young team. Like, we knew going into it that there was a lot of bad blood with how things were handled with the Rangers, and I don't really know, like, what kind of happened there outside of, like, he was apparently benching Lafreniere, and, like, Capo Caco, for whatever reasons. But I didn't really see that during his time with this team. I felt like he seemed very fair in that there were a couple times where he benched Vlasic, and there were times where Vlasic wasn't very good. So I just felt like he was doing it semi-fairly. I know like LeBanc like barely played last season, but we've kind of already expressed our feelings on LeBanc. Like, so I didn't really feel like that felt unjust, especially if like these younger kids are coming in hungry and like fighting for positions, to be on the roster that night. But yeah, at the end of the day, I kind of felt like the Quinn firing was actually more surprising to me than the Hurdle trade. The Hurdle trade was only surprising because of where he went.
Yeah.
But the Quinn firing, I was really taken back by it because he didn't put together this team, and with all the injuries that we had throughout the season, like a team that's struggling to build chemistry, if you continuously throw these like grenades into the lineup and then you're expecting guys to like instantly find chemistry between games, like it's gonna be hard. And yeah, so but it is what it is. I'm excited to see who gets to try out getting this team back into a winning direction for next season. And there's a lot of other, I think, exciting things that will come down the line, depending on certain players, whether or not they're going to come into the lineup next season.
Yeah, I think it's gonna feel a little unfair for Quinn if we draft Celebrini, if Will Smith decides to play for the NHL next season, and then you have Eklund and Zetterlund who are like their chemistry on the ice is really good, and if they take like another step forward in their play or whatever, and all of a sudden the Sharks are starting to play a little bit more cohesively and doing better in the standings with a new head coach, it's like I feel like Quinn could have done that as well. He just didn't have the opportunity to be able to show any of that. And so now everyone's gonna be like, look, this is why we got rid of Quinn. He sucked, he couldn't get us there, but it's gonna be like a completely different situation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sucky for him, but it is what it is.
Like I feel like it at the end of the day it had to be the record, because like Mike Greer picked this dude who he has a past connection with. Like if it was anything related to, he was losing the room, like even people were talking about like, when has a general manager had to come down and be the one to talk to the team? It's like, is it really that like alarming?
Wilson used to do it.
Like I didn't really feel like, oh no, Quinn can't do his job. It's like, is it really that surprising? I don't know. Like it'd be surprising if it was a good team.
Yeah.
And he had to come down, but this team is like, it looks drastically different than it was two seasons ago. And but yeah, I did. There were some questions about whether he was not jiving well with the team, but I really, at the end of the day, like I could not fathom the possibility that he wasn't a good like players coach, because if Greer had that strong connection and like situation with him, like I can't imagine that he that would be the reason why.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone got along with him really well. And actually, when the news came out, even a lot of the media people were sad about it because they all really liked how he handled, all the interviews and stuff. So it sucks to lose a good person in the organization, but again, it's a business and we got to live with it, and it is what it is. Another thing that Shang had asked Sturm about was how he felt around drafting Macklin Celebrini, and Sturm being very much like, well, yeah, we got the number 1 overall draft pick, but we don't really know who we're going to draft. Like, he didn't want to commit to that. And then Shane was like, I mean, but we do know. But they started discussing a little bit about Celebrini and his play and the things that they've noticed and how excited they are. His comparison to Jonathan Taves and all this, like, as a player. And then I saw that Shang had put out an article as well where he interviewed, I believe, Celebrini's current coach at BU. Is it BU? Boston College? Or hold on.
BU.
Okay, yeah, I get them mixed up. And it's just him basically describing how he is on the ice as a player and like what he brings to the team, which the usual is hard work, hockey IQ, and all that. But I think what sounds impressive to me and to most people is that he's only 17 years old and he already took up a leadership role on this college team that has, I think the coach mentioned, there's like 24, 25-year-olds on the roster, and he's able to lead them, and he comes with like such a drive, and they're hoping that he will bring a winning sort of culture to whatever team he goes to, aka the Sharks. Which
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that I'm looking it up right now. I'm pretty sure his older brother is also on that team.
On BU?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh. The one who was drafted by the Canucks?
Uh-huh.
So he's like
little brothers commanding the room.
Yeah. That's cute. But yeah, I don't know. Just reading through this, I skimmed it pretty quickly, but it seems like whatever qualities that the coach is listing is what's missing in the Sharks locker room right now as they're struggling through their whatever it is that they're struggling through. So I think this is going to be good for the team whenever he decides to play here.
Yeah, like that. That like either way, I'm gonna be excited if they don't hit Celebrini and Will Smith. I feel like it's going to be a chain reaction.
Yeah, I think so.
If Celebrini comes, I think Will Smith will feel more confident. And then by extension, the two line mates that Will Smith had, even though I don't remember which one, had already kind of mentioned that he would be going back for his sophomore year. If Will Smith decides to go into NHL, I think that will also chain reaction to those other two players. So it's going to be a really interesting wait and see.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned last time that there's already people who are inquiring about season tickets, getting really excited for the fact that we'll have the first overall pick, that will presumably will pick Macklin Celebrini. Yeah, it's just like a lot of excitement already starting to happen.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel a little bit excited because, I mean, we're going to get Celebrini. Like, there's no question. Like, even Greer, when he was interviewed a couple weeks ago during the exit interviews, they asked him, like, can we assume that you're going to draft him? And he basically outright said, like, it's a pretty good guess. Like, you can go ahead and think that.
It will be a very interesting pod if we don't.
I'm going to be so pissed. Like, get the first overall and you don't do the thing you were supposed to do.
We'll title it so Mike Greer gets fired.
Like, what the hell? You had one job.
Handed to you on a silver platter and you went,
you done fucked it up.
Why would I want to pick from BU?
Oh my god. Yeah, but
I would officially not be able to trust Greer after that. Like, everything is aligning for him to pick it, and if he would be like, tee hee, just kidding, like, words would not be able to describe, like, the amount of what the fuck I would feel.
Yeah.
He's like the kid with the what's it called? The magnifying glass in the sun, just like killing ants.
Terrible. Anyways, there's no need to get worked up over something that hasn't happened.
Like, that would be insane. Team chaos at its finest.
I would hate it so much. That's not the kind of chaos I enjoy. But yeah, so my thoughts on it are, after the draft, after we draft Celebrini, how long do we usually wait before we find out whether or not that first overall pick will play in the NHL? It's like somewhere.
They might have up until the season starts. I don't know,
because I don't really pay attention to that. But anyways, when he makes his decision, I don't think anyone would be surprised if he decides to play another season at the college level. But I don't think anyone would be surprised if he decides to play in the NHL either. So whichever way it goes, if he decides to play in the NHL, yes, I also feel that Will Smith will probably make his decision to come up to the team. Even though he could probably use another year as well, I think it would be a little bit different if he has players who can play up to his caliber. I think Musty would probably be better off playing another year in the minors, whatever it's called. What league does he play for? I always forget. OHL?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still into juniors, yeah.
And then
no need to rush these other kids.
Right. And Holtonen too, right? Like, even though he had a monster playoffs, I think he would still be better off playing another year at that level as well, just to get all that experience. But it gets me really excited for not next season, but the season afterwards, when these kids are probably going to start coming up, and we'll be able to start seeing the what's the word? What's the word? I don't know. We're gonna start seeing the progress. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Anyways,
the fruits of our labor.
Yes, thank you. Sure, let's go with that.
So one thing I do want to mention. So I was making my way through one of Shane and Keegan's, like, it was like 3 hours long. So I'm like, oh, we're gonna listen to this in chunks.
Yeah.
They were doing a lot of mailbag from
questions
from listeners, of their pod. And they were talking about a lot of these, up and coming talent. And also, like Shay had mentioned, kind of like, also in a way, like, don't like, how do I put it? Basically, with how well they're doing, like, it's good, but then I think you kind of need to not get too ahead of yourself, because it's like they may be dominating at those levels, but like,
it's also different.
Don't expect all of these different guys to be like the next, like, Patrick Marleau, the next, like, Erik Karlsson, things like that. Like, let it be for what it is, and then, like, get excited about it, but not, like, overboard about it. Like, it's good that they're doing great, but whether or not that's going to translate at that level to the NHL.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that they actually touched on was possibly trading up to get earlier draft pick other than the 14. Did you listen to that bit?
Yeah, so that's actually, like, I had mentioned last time that I would really like to get a defenseman with the 14th pick, and there have been talks about, ways to package up, like, our 14th with maybe, like, some of our second round or whatever else we have, and like certain teams that might be interested. But a lot like I think it was like last year or the year before that when Greer made some move because some player had already been picked. So it's like at that point, like you might as well just get more bang for your buck than getting, whoever may be left over like in your range. So it's going to come down to something like that. Like there's I do agree that at the end of the day, you shouldn't just get a defenseman because it would be better if none of the ones are still available. Like choose wisely with, your higher draft pick. So it could be interesting to see if they do something where like whoever's on their radar, they can like make some kind of deal with some team that's got a higher pick. I would really like us to get a defenseman, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, then hopefully we choose a forward that will make sense for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. On staying on like trade topics, some people have also been asking whether or not it'd be smart for the Sharks to trade for Marner this offseason. I think because he seems like he's not super happy in Toronto anymore, and the Sharks seem to be in a place where they could take on a big contract. And they talked about that on the pod as well. And I think they made really good points about how it doesn't seem like the Sharks aren't in a position to, I mean, they have the cap space to do it, but they're not like as a team where they're at playing wise, they're not in a position to bring in a almost $11 million player to try and do that. And then they also mentioned for a trade like that to happen, they would probably have to send over Ferraro and Eklund type players. And I was like, nope, I don't like that. Nope. That doesn't make any sense to me. As soon as he said those names, I was like, nope, I'm not even entertaining the thought anymore.
Okay, outside of the fact that Marner's quite young, if we were to have done something like that, then we should have just kept Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he wanted to leave anyway, but like,
yeah,
like,
that makes sense. But it's just like, why are you gonna give up your process, like your young guys who are just getting started in learning how to play in this league? Well, I guess not Ferraro really, but he is making his improvements still. For like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm hoping will happen. Like, it just, it doesn't really seem to make sense to me.
If they were in a different position, standings wise, skills wise, team wise, maybe. Because I've always when Marlowe went over to Toronto, and then it came out that he basically took Marner under his wing, and he's basically like his fifth son. Him and Matthews were like his fifth and sixth son. I was like, oh, cute. He's trying to make that bond. What if one of those guys come over to San Jose at some point? Silly thoughts. And now there is a possibility that it could have, like a very, very small chance that it could happen. But I'm not feeling it anymore. It's just not.
Yeah.
It won't make sense. That's it. That's all I wanted to put out. And then lastly, the last thing, because we out here, we support women's sports. It has nothing to do with hockey, but we love our women's sports. I don't even follow basketball, but I think I'm going to start because the Bay Area is getting their women's basketball team. They came out with their name. They came out with the logo earlier in the week. I am for this. I love this. The Golden State Valkyries. Love the name. Love the color they picked. Love the design. This is one of my favorite things that we do on this podcast is like find a logo or design or whatever and kind of break it down to see what it is that we like or we don't like about it. So I threw this in here for us. One thing that kind of bugs me is that they call this a violet when it's clearly more like lavender. But I love the color. Love me some lavender as a queer. And I love the marketing. Like, they really know their audience. They put out a promo video, super sick. It gives me kind of like almost Marvel vibes, like a Marvel movie trailer vibes. And it was narrated by Kalani and Kaylani. Kaylani. They know their audience. We all love a Kalani. What do you think of the logo?
As a whole, I like it. Like it feels strong.
Mhm.
I love that it is lavender. Like the violet aspect of it would be like the background that they're using in this instance. I'm not sure how I feel about the font part of the logo being like in some part, like some of the apparel being separate. Like I think that's gonna have to kind of grow on me. um but I do like that it, looks like wings, and then, when they break it down, there's all, the different influences that basically how the design came about. Um yeah, and well, one thing that I did see from there's like the AFC Discord, they have a section that's like for other sports chat, when people are talking about how apparently the team down in LA apparently has a supporter group that is called the Valkyries or whatever. So I'm like, okay, that seems a little.
So I think what happened, the Angel City, I think is the LA team down there.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Well, so that would be for the NWSL team,
Right. That's what. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I meant to be more specific. Thank you. So the NWSL team, Angel City, I think has one of the same owners that is working for the Valkyries here. And I think a lot of fans were saying that they really wanted the team down there to be called the Valkyries, and so ended up being up here for basketball, and so that's a thing. I really like this logo. When I first saw it, they opened up my Twitter in the morning before work, and I was like, this is how you make a bomb ass logo for a brand new team to get a city excited for this team coming. As much as I love BFC, I was so underwhelmed when they announced their logo. It's so plain. Like there nothing about it really excited me. I understood like the reference. Like when they broke it down, like I understood what they were trying to do. But I don't know, man. This one's just, it's so clean. It's like simple, it's clean, it's clear. It got is it the Golden Gate Bridge thing in there that's very apparent. I really like this. I bought a hoodie.
I think the thing that I would say about the BFC logo is I wasn't a fan of, I mean, it's growing on me now, but like the font choice just kind of gives like a different feeling to it. It feels more like old school, almost like regal, which I'm just like, are we going for that vibe? So like, and it just seemed to stick out in a way where I was not sure if it was good outside in relation to all the other NWSL logos. But what I will say about the BFC logo is the primary and like the secondary logos, I think they work well, versus with the Golden State Valkyries, like it's an adjustment to have them separated. Like I don't love them separated. I do love them together.
That makes sense.
So yeah. So that's how I kind of feel about it. But and then there was also I stumbled upon some chatter about some folks who weren't really down with like, oh, it like feels very, they should have gone with more relation to like the Warriors or something like that, which I don't really feel like that needs to be like, yeah, they are connected in that the Warriors, I think they're kind of like also helping to fund
Yeah.
the team, but I don't like. I would hate for them to be like the warrior ladies or something. Like
The Lady
I'd be
Warriors,
like,
yeah. Dude, that's like so in high school, what you know how you have your mascot or whatever, and it's always like the men's team is whatever the thing is, and then the women's always the lady whatever the thing is.
yeah.
So like my school was the Titans, so the men's sports is the Hercules Titans whatever, and then it'd be the Hercules Lady Titans. It's like it's dumb. I like Valkyrie because it's a very strong like name on its own. Golden State is the thing that brings them together. It works.
That I'd say the thing that I love the most about the identity of this team is the Valkyries thing. Like you could do so much like with it.
Imagine the mascot.
I guess so. I can't really picture basketball mascots because I don't really follow it. So, speaking of mascots, so this past Friday was the Bay Area Unite game
Oh, yeah.
for Bay FC. So I saw Sourdough Sam running around down there. I saw Sharky. Apparently, the mascot for the Quakes was down there somewhere.
His
I didn't
name's Q.
see him anywhere. Oh,
It's
my
just
bad.
Q.
Okay, Q. I don't know where Sharky went after the like warm up part of the game, but I did see Sourdough Sam like in the supporters area, like hyping along with everybody. So I thought that was really cool to see. And I do want to make mention that the young girl who did the anthem, she's got some pipes. I was like, what? She was freaking Mariah carrying it out there. I'm like, oh my God. Normally I don't really like it because like, I'm like, okay, go ahead and just sing it already. But like, I was like, wow, she's got some pipes. Good for her.
Good for her. I always love when if we're gonna have to sit and listen through the thing, get someone who's got vocals, like entertain me.
I'd say I would rather that than somebody who like elongates the time in between the words, because for me that's kind of like nails on a chalkboard. I'm over here with like a metronome. I'm like, come on. Like,
hurry up. I'm here for a game, not for you.
Like, I know you're trying to like pause for like the whatever like empowerment of it or something, but it's like the musician in me needs you to speed it back up. Like, seriously, please.
We ain't got time for that. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I'm actually gonna get to go this next game. It's kind of snuck up on me. I didn't even realize it was coming up. I'm gonna watch some soccer. I've never been to a professional soccer game before. I'm really excited.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I don't remember where I heard it, but apparently the team that we're going against on Friday is apparently supposed to be one of the top teams.
Amazing. I'm gonna watch.
I thought
big loss. Just kidding.
Hey,
Just
now
kidding.
they played really well yesterday. I don't know where the San Diego Wave are in the standings. I'm just kind of here for the vibes right now. Like, I know we just got off like a really terrible losing streak, but they came out in a big way. I tweeted about this like after the game, but I really love that even though their defense has like made huge strides. Mm-hmm. They've improved every single game. Even the game against the Pride, which I think they're like second in the standings, like, and I think they only got, I think that game, the only goal that was scored was like off of like a penalty kick. So it's just a huge bummer that they were doing like pretty well. And then it was just that one instance where I think it was Dana that tried to like go in there with a, what do you call it, a tackle or something. I don't know the terms for these things, but she ended up tripping her.
Okay.
And then, yeah. So it was really frustrating, but they played really well. They just could not get a goal. And then this past game, when they gave up a goal, I was frustrated because they'd been working so hard on their defense. And it was frustrating that like that's the end result. But as they were coming back to line back up to whatever you call it, dropping the ball or something. I don't know what you call it. The face off, whatever it is.
It's like kickoff or something.
Sure, we'll use that. The crowd started chanting Bay FC, Bay FC. They were just like, brush it off. You got it. And I love that. Like, have we done that before with the Sharks? Or are we just like awful fans and we're like, this team sucks?
Honestly, I think we used to, and then it wasn't doing anything. So, kind of stopped.
Okay. But it was really nice. It got me energized again. We're like, yeah, we've got this, no problem. And then, then they did. Then they got 2 goals, and it was really awesome. And there were a lot more away fans than in past games with away fans. Like I've seen like a trickling of jerseys for the other team, but this game was the one where I walked in and be like, there's another San Diego Wave. There's another one. There's another one. And then I got in line to get a hot dog, and the lady that was in front of me like turned around and she's like, oh, good, you're wearing the right like clothing. And I'm like, what? Yeah, and she's just like, yeah, it's like she even noticed that there was so many Wave fans around, and she was curious, like, why are there so many? And I said, I don't know, maybe like, maybe because they're so close that fans came up, or maybe because we got this team so damn late that people are like, we want to root for one of the SoCal teams. And then she asked me, like, do they have any like player that like we would know about that like would be talked about? And I said, oh, well, yeah, they have Morgan, so maybe that's why they have some fans in this area. So whatever, thanks for coming, we won.
Thanks for watching us win. Yeah, women's sports, always fun. I'm excited. The future's looking good.
I looked at the commute up to the Chase Center to watch a game because I do want to go out, and it's not till next year, but I'm like, okay, so we're definitely have to block out a whole day.
Yeah. Was it like a 40-minute drive for you without traffic?
I don't know if I want to drive is the thing.
Oh, right.
Like, what is parking going to look like up there? I did look,
not terrible.
like if you go, well.
Oh, Chase Center. I'm thinking, you're right. You're right. Never mind.
No. Yeah, if it convenience wise, it looks fine. It's just the duration of it to not drive yourself there. And I think at the end of the day, like maybe like the stress level will probably work itself out if you take public transportation.
Yeah. Well, how do you get to Giants games? Do you take the Muni?
I take Caltrain.
You take Caltrain and the Muni, or do you just walk? Is that close?
No. There's a stop right. I don't remember what it's called, but you walk out and you just have to walk a couple of blocks.
Okay.
The downside to the last few times I've gone out to a Giants game, like when I go out, I usually go. It was with some of my friends that live up in the North Bay, and we'll go to a weeknight game. But then I have to leave by like the 8th inning.
Yeah.
But it's not so bad. Yeah, like at the end of the day, I'd rather do that versus driving up. Chase
Center is like basically down the street from Oracle Park, so you could just walk down and take Muni down to.
Yeah. Like So it's somewhere in the proximity of like an hour and a half to 2 hours if I would just take public transportation. So it's not terrible. It's just, oh,
It's
we're
a lot
gonna
of
have
time.
one of those types of
Yeah.
we're gonna have that experience, which is fine. Because I would rather do that than attempt to drive up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to avoid driving to the city as much as possible because it's insane. People forget how to drive in there.
Oh, and then speaking of season tickets, I saw the other day that they've already gotten like 10,000 ticket deposits.
Who, Valkyrie?
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Yeah, people are
Just
excited.
like, but I've been told no one watches women's sports.
I've been told that nobody cares for the WNBA specifically.
I saw this tweet from what's his name? McAfee, that podcast dude. You know what I'm talking
Nope,
about?
but go ahead.
Anyway, some dude with a podcast that's like talks about sports and whatever. I didn't watch Pat McAfee. So on his Pat McAfee show, they were talking about Caitlin Clark or something, and they were talking about the WNBA, and like in the tweet, they like it was quoted being like, "Oh, I didn't know that like there were all these really good players in the WNBA. I'm like, as you know, as a new fan, like I'm excited." And I like texted my friend going, "I hate that this is content for them. I hate this. The fact that they're like, oh, there's good players in a professional women's sports team. Like, is this breaking news?"
For them, it is.
Like,
they don't pay attention.
The WNBA has been around for quite some time. And like men are sitting around talking about it and having this huge platform for their podcast. That's another part that pisses me off. You have this huge platform and you're like, I'm gonna talk for X amount of time and make it seem like, oh wow, like women, like I might be interested in watching women in sports.
Yeah.
I just like, I hate all of this so much.
It's okay.
Like they could just talk about it and be like, yeah, and like uplift women instead of being like, oh, there's good players.
Listen, I think you expect too much from sports guys.
I know I do. I just hate that it found its way on my timeline and just like and took time away from my day.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
just like so upset that I'm like, oh my god, like these guys have how many people listening to their podcast, and they're probably like, ooh,
you're right.
Like
they finally have
so
good
many
players.
people being like, oh, women's sports.
The thing is, like,
oh my god,
no, I don't even want to get into that conversation. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Women's sport is thriving in different areas of sports. We love to see it. I'm not gonna give these toxic people any more of my energy. We're good. Are we good?
Coming back down from my
take a nice deep breath.
My frustration all over again. It's just so annoying, but yeah, like you said, women's sports. Everyone's here to watch women's sports.
All the queers.
It's not new. It's not new. So many women at the BFC game yesterday.
Did you see how quickly you're
holding hands. I love that the two queer couples, I think they're season ticket holders because they've been at every goddamn game. So I've got to assume these are their seats. They look like all around Bay Area sports fans. Like one was wearing a Sharks hat. The other one was wearing Giants hat when like something happened on the pitch the other day. One of them like got up like, oh. I was like, I love it. I love it. And then, sprinkled throughout so many queer people.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty much what we got for this week's episode. Thanks for joining us. I am your co-host, Ness.
I am Jey.
Yeah, I guess catch you next week. Bye!
Bye.